Welcome back to the podcast. Evan and I just got back this morning from a camping trip, also a scouting trip, also a what gear should we buy trip.
Yep.
You're in the market for a new sleeping bag. How long have you had? It's a North Face Furnace rated to 35 degrees.
Wow, you did your research on that.
I just happened to look at it and I thought, no, let's get an idea of that. Ironically, I don't know the name of mine. Mine's a Marmot. It's about 15 years old and it's rated to 15 degrees. But yours is not very warm.
No, it's not. My philosophy when I bought it was I don't want to be camping when it's freezing out, so I'm not going to buy a sleeping bag to facilitate that.
Disincentivize cold weather camping by not buying.
Which has meant that I'm only freezing whenever I camp.
Yeah. Well, we had a couple cold nights in Wyoming, and you can always add more clothes when you're in the sleeping bag. Mm-hmm. And if you're cold enough, or if it's cold enough, then you're not going to sweat. It'll be fine. But if it doesn't get cold enough, you're going to wake up sweaty and miserable. And it was so cold. We had an extra sleeping bag too. Didn't we have like a sleeping bag down?
Yeah, I would just bring a comforter.
Yeah. We had the sleeping bag down. We had because we had all of your stuff in Wyoming.
Yeah, car camping.
So we didn't have to worry about space or anything. So we had the air pads down, air mattresses down, then a sleeping bag, then our sleeping bags, and then a comforter. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was hard to get out of bed on those, or out of bed is probably the more apt term. But that was nice. But when you're doing alpine hunting, you're doing car camping.
Yeah.
It's tough. You want something that's going to work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think what spurred this was I made you use my sleeping bag when we were in Denali, and it was freezing. Like, we'd wake up and there was frost in the tent, and you were like, how do you even survive?
I felt bad for all those times we've been camping, and it's been cold outside. That thing is it's not rated for that, and it's also old. And so it's I don't know at what pace or what rate sleeping bags degrade.
I think like the down ones degrade faster.
Yeah.
Because they just lose their loft and it's over.
Yeah, I'd heard that or read somewhere that you're supposed to store them in not a stuff bag, in a larger bag that keeps it from dispersing or keeps it from degrading or whatever. But so what are you looking at?
Well, I actually just ordered because the 4th of July sales.
Yes.
It's I think it's the Marmot Lithium. It's rated to 0 degrees and it weighs like just under 3 pounds.
Nice. What's you probably don't know the dimensions on it. That was another thing that some of those are nice and they're rated to low temperatures, but they're bulky.
Yeah.
And they're heavy. So it's finding that nice balance of something that's going to fit into your pack. You can get once you start going for longer expeditions or a longer period of time, you have a nice sleeping bag, but if it's bulky in there, you can't, that's like a day's worth of food, the difference in the bulk.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I just kind of figured, thinking about this moose caribou hunting trip we're going to do in September, that because it was a difference of probably like 8 ounces, half a pound. So it's like, well, should I go for the 15-degree bag for a little bit? But I was like, am I going to notice half a pound? It's probably worth it.
Yeah. And the nice thing about when we go camping together, we're splitting the stuff. It's not a one person where you have to take the tent plus your bag plus everything. We're splitting a lot of that. So that'll be good. I don't think I'm going to get one yet. But I would look at Marmot. They're a good brand, tend to have stuff on sale.
Yeah, for sure.
They're a pretty underrated brand. If you look at a lot of the stuff that, like the Alpine performance hunting type sleeping bag stuff, it's really nice and it probably is exactly what you want as a hunter. But, you might be big fans. Like I'm a big fan of Stone Glacier, but I'm just not in a position to pay that much for a high performance sleeping bag. Yeah,
I haven't compared, to me I care about weight and the price. And there's a certain price where like past that I'm like, more than $400, it's probably a hard no.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I don't know. I don't care about the ounces, it's like, I'm thinking about, I'm going to probably be carrying an 80-pound pack. Like, what's another 8 ounces? That's, I don't know. Like, it just seems a little
it's part of the principle, but it matters too. Like if you add a little bit of weight to everything, then you're a lot heavier. But if in certain areas it doesn't necessarily matter, so that could be the one area in which you indulge a little bit.
But even like the argument of if you add a little bit everywhere, okay, so you have like your cook system, your sleeping bag, your pad, your tent, your clothes. I mean, I don't know, if you add half a pound to each of those things, that's 2.5 pounds. Like, I don't know. I mean, I see the argument, but I'm also like, well, the amount of weight that you're thinking about carrying when you're on a hunt, like 2.5 pounds is like, okay, why don't you trim your meat a little bit better, and then you're down 2.5 pounds.
Yeah. Well, I think too, part of it is the perception is when just how you hunt is based mostly on, or a lot on, how you or who you've been hunting with and what they take. And so there are a lot of people who take just a ridiculous amount of stuff that no one would ever need. So I think the whole watching your ounces to those people is going to make a lot more sense. When we were flying out to do the elk hunt a couple of years ago, we thought we were embarrassed by the amount of stuff that we had. But the pilot's like, "Oh, you guys minimalist? You guys just carrying it all with you?" I was like, "Dude, are you kidding me? Like, look at all this stuff." But compared to other people that they almost had a separate plane just to fly them out on their mountain goat hunt, because they had a whole cooler for steaks and Gatorade.
Dang.
And for so if backpack people, they want a lot of those conveniences. So I think we would probably qualify not as maybe minimalist, the types of people who cut the handle off their toothbrush. But I do think that we're not super, I don't know, packing luxuriously. So, and if the difference in cost between something that's a little bit more high performance, like I bet some of those high end Mountain Hardwear or Stone Glacier sleeping bags are amazing. But again, here we're not camping when it's 0 degrees. The blacktail rut, if we're camping outside, it's going to be, maybe in the 30s.
Yeah.
So it's not going to get that stinking cold. So we might not need something like that. But
I do wonder how they do those ratings too, because I feel like since it's so wet and humid here, like you need a bag that's rated. Like, I don't know if that's like a dry temperature rating but anyways.
Yeah, a lot of technology. I know they've done you do tests where if the sleeping bag gets wet, does it still insulate? And there's, a whole bunch of other stuff, technology going into it. But I think I'd rather put the extra $200 or $150 into something. I definitely want a good sleeping bag. You don't skimp on a good sleeping bag, because if you don't sleep well, it's going to ruin everything. So definitely get a really quality sleeping bag. And I've really been happy with my Marmot. So if I get a new one, probably be a Marmot list and get something on sale.
I guess that's a good point too. On the flip side, it's like, well, it's something that you use. It's like integral to your whole camping system. Yeah. You use it so much, so it's like, I mean, you might as well spend another $200 on it. Mm-hmm. When you think about all the money that we spend on gas for the vehicle or the boat and flights and this and that, it's like, well, $200 is...
Yeah. And even the difference between your $150 sleeping bag versus a $300 sleeping bag, you're going to look at ounces too. So you're not adding a ton of ounces by going cheaper. You're cutting half the ounces still, and you're cutting off the price. So it's still in the right direction, I think, both ways.
Yeah, but I think I could probably convince myself of anything.
100%. So. Yeah, that's what I mean. There are entire podcasts that do weekly and just talk about gear. I think the biggest thing is just to look at how you're going to use it and the reality of it, and make your decisions based on that.
Yeah.
And based on what our hunting is, it's mostly going to be wet. It's mostly just a day or two, sometimes longer ones. Like in this area, the vast majority of our hunting is going to be that. It's not going to be super cold. It's going to be a lot of August and September stuff. This year, going up north, it's going to be interior Alaska during September. So it's going to be definitely a chance of being colder. So it'll be nice to have that new bag for you and then some clothes underneath.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plans shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
Other gear thing we were talking about, another brand that's really, really quality, I like a lot, is the Outdoor Research.
Yeah, their clothes.
They have that hoodie that we've been wearing. It's like a sun hoodie, base layer type thing. It's got it's not a tight neck, but it's got more fabric around the neck. So when you put the hood up, there's not much exposed skin, and there's no gap between the skin and like the chin and jaw, so you can't get mosquitoes in there, which is really cool. I really like those two brands.
Yeah. My favorite jacket I've ever owned is that Outdoor Research. It's like kind of a fleece hoodie with a like windbreaker shell, but they don't make them anymore. It's so sad.
It's so weird.
Because it was like the best thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they make a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, they're good. Quality. Not to say anything bad about some of the other brands out there, but they seem to work really well.
Yeah, it seems like they're just as good as any brand, and they're like probably half the price.
Yeah. You don't get they don't have the systems, like your hunting systems. It's geared to layer together, which is really important. If you don't have mixed match layers, that can really make for uncomfortable things. I remember a couple times where I had a rain jacket that wasn't really long enough, and so my layer underneath it was getting wet because the water was running off the rain jacket onto where my sweatshirt or my hoodie underneath was like an inch longer than my rain jacket. So that was horrible. So that's all meant to match each other and layer well. But yeah, again, in our climates and what we're hunting, we don't need that high performing. It's going to be 8 degrees the entire time. But I think a lot of it too is your hardcore hunters notice the difference. Your hardcore fishermen know the difference between the premium Sage 7 weight and, just a kind of a good bang for your buck type stuff. But there's a lot of really good technology that goes into it that benefits some really, really extreme hunters. And that might be you, or maybe, you can get something that's a little bit less and just.
Yeah. I don't think I've bought into the gear. Like even with, if you're like a high end, I don't know, extreme hunter, I don't know. It's like, well, you could lose half a pound and it would be the same as buying a jacket that's, I don't know, it's just like, there's so many other things you could do than throw money at it that.
And back in the day, the hardcore hunters were doing everything in wool, which was wet and stinking heavy, and leather boots, so.
Well, and even like, like hunting on the ranch in Wyoming, I mean, they would all wear like those like Carhartt jumpsuits because it was so windy and it was so cold, and those things just like block everything. Yeah. That was the only, like, I would put on all these layers of like all these like high tech outdoor brands, and they'd be like, well, are you sure you don't want one of these jumpsuits? And I'd be like, yeah, I do want one.
Yeah. When I went up north for that winter caribou hunt, it was -30. And Harrison had told me to buy, I was like, what do I need for like snow pants or anything like that? He said, get Refrigiwear. And it's stuff that the people on the slope wear. And it was like $150, $180. It just stinking works. It's not, I had my puffy pants underneath and I had those as the exterior, but man, it was great. Those things are so nice. And I use them for shoveling snow here. I can be in that and just a long sleeve and be totally warm no matter how cold it is out here. And it's not a high performance big brand, or it's not a big brand name, markup. It's just a high performance. This stuff stinking works. You wouldn't want to
Yeah.
hike a mountain in it, but it's so good. And it was like $180.
Yeah. Well, and you wouldn't want to hike a mountain in it because you'd be too warm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's not a knock on the product. It's
No.
like,
No, and it's for your different market. You know,
Yeah.
people who just are, it's your working class people up where it's really, really cold. This is what you can afford. This is what's going to work. And that's going to be exactly what you want. So yeah, it doesn't look good for the picture necessarily, but who cares? What else gear wise? We got a Marmot tent. I really like that thing.
yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about my pack. I just feel like doesn't hold enough volume, but I don't know.
Yeah, I got that one for you. It's more like a day trip type pack. It's nice. I have an older iteration of the Stone Glacier Sky Talus 69.
Is that what I have?
100. No, you have the Solo,
Okay.
which is an awesome like overnighter. But yeah, when you start getting bulky stuff in there, it starts to fill up pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
But some of those expedition ones, they made a couple changes to it. So when my pack isn't really full, where it buckles on the back, the lid is just kind of floppy and all over the place. But I think they fixed that on the more recent one, so it's a lot cleaner. Because when the lid kind of flops over, you try to ratchet it down as tight as you can up top, but there's a gap, and it's just one of those cinch things up top. It's not a zipper or anything like that. So like rain could foreseeably like fall in and get in there, but they fixed that. So yeah, a slightly bigger one would be good. But the nice thing too is that we could get you a bigger bag and still use the same frame. So you don't have to get a whole new thing, which is kind of nice with those packs. But other gear stuff, we got a new InReach. It's that old DeLorme one I've had for ever, since before Garmin bought InReach. Still have it, but done with that. So we got the InReach Mini.
After it went off accidentally, we just
All those years, all those
lost
steelhead
our
trips.
trust.
Yeah. I was so paranoid about it for all those years because it just had the little slide. And then once the thing is slide to on, then you can press the button, you can activate it. And I'd always checked it. And then obviously the one time I don't, it had just slid throughout the season over a little bit more, and then activated, and then battery dies, and then all of a sudden things suck. But I think we talked about that in a previous podcast, didn't we?
I think so.
Yeah. So activated. I had friends that responded, which was cool, but we were just hunting right behind the house, so it was pretty close.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it gear wise.
Yeah.
Really like pretty much everything else we got.
Yeah.
So camped, looked around for deer, found some bucks. It's hard to tell at this point what they're going to develop into, because you can get really excited just because you've seen something. But there's still about a month and a half ish for antler growth to go. So you're looking at some, and are you really excited? Are those really nice? Does it have good mass, or there's nothing to really compare to, and they're still really balled up, and you're not seeing where they branched out? We didn't see anything that was clearly going to be a monster.
Yeah, which we didn't really expect to.
No, it was just nice to kind of get up in the mountains and
like look for mature
around.
deer is
Yeah.
kind of what I was looking for. Which I think we saw like 3 pretty solid mature deer, and then one was a little bit smaller.
Yeah, and I think it's, again, based on expectation. If you were a trophy hunter, I think you'd be underwhelmed by what we saw. But based on where we're at, definitely, there's only so many local peaks that you can access with a short boat ride. So it's let alone road system. There's always people are going to spy bucks on the local road system. There's always tales of people going up and getting really nice bucks pretty close to town. And there's always a 4-point walking around somewhere in town, which is like, dude, what?
I don't know about a 4-point in town.
It seems like once a year there's a sighting of.
Oh, a sighting, not like someone gets one.
What do you mean?
Like people aren't shooting 4 points off the mountains behind town.
Not that I know of, but there could be.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like they get hunted so hard that it's hard for deer to get that old. And I mean, from what I've seen, which is fairly limited, it just doesn't seem like our genetics here, it's more like big 3 points. It's
Yeah.
not that fourth. I don't know. A lot of times they don't branch that much.
Yeah, it's I was talking with Don Bussey about this when I was starting to get out about, like, there was a time where I didn't even know that deer shed their antlers. I was like, oh, all right. Didn't really know that. I don't know. I was like high school or something like that, or middle school. But I was like, well, that makes sense, but I just never really thought about it. And so along with that is 4 points doesn't necessarily mean older. A lot of it can be genetics. And Don said that he flew into a lake that they liked going to, but all the 4 points had been shot. And then after a couple of years going there again, like just nothing was developing past a 3x3. And you'd have these really nice, big, mature 3x3s, but that was all they were going to be. It wasn't a matter of waiting another year and you get another tine.
Yeah.
So I think, the genetics there's some pretty good looking quality deer, and some smaller basket type racks that don't have a lot of mass or width or height, but it's a little compact 3x3 that's just above the ears. So it's interesting to look around and just kind of part of the whole thing. It's not I will not shoot a forky or I will not shoot anything unless it's huge. It's just interesting to see and wonder, okay, well, wonder what that is going to branch out to. Wonder what that's going to look like in a month. And then also the habits. I don't know why the habits would change. It was July 1st when we saw the bucks. So we saw them, was it the first? No, yesterday and today. So the second and the third.
Yeah.
We saw them it was like afternoon more than evening. We were
Well,
seeing
yeah,
them at,
because we
like,
went.
4
Well,
o'clock.
they were out in the evening though. They were
Yeah.
out all evening.
But
But yeah, we saw them starting pretty early, especially for
Yeah.
it wasn't super hot, but it was pretty warm.
yeah, it was low 60s. And you tend to think that when it's sunny and when warm like that it's going to be really that last half hour, first half hour. But yeah, this was 4 o'clock. This was
Yeah,
5
they were
hours.
all
before.
up and feeding and
Yeah.
moving.
So, wonder how that changes. The feed won't be changing much because you're going to have the deer cabbage up there, and that's gonna
Yeah.
remain the same. So it's just going to be a matter of whether or not they're going to get pushed off, spooked off, or what's going to happen there. So be interesting
Yeah.
to see. Interesting to see the game camera footage that we got up there and saw that there was some buck activity in the evening around 6:30. So this is October. This is November.
Or December, November, December.
November, December. So sunset is 4 o'clock.
Somewhere.
So it's
yeah.
after sunset, but it's evening 6:30ish. Whereas game cameras we had, different island, but not too far away. Their activity, same time period, was midnight, 3 a.m.
Yeah.
That was all that buck activity. So interesting to see just, those little habitats, and that's,
Yeah.
that just happened to be the bucks that happened to be moving past, at that time. So, we don't have enough cameras out to really make any sort of definitive call, but it is
Yeah.
interesting to see, and maybe reveal some flaw in logic or flaw in the system or
I think
whatever.
it probably just, I mean, I think at least part of it is pressure.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I don't know. I think that, especially that time of year, I mean, deer can be up and moving at any time.
Mhm.
So,
They could be rebedding. They can be going up and
Yeah.
over as the sun changes. I mean, it could be for all different types of reasons. But yeah, I think just being out there, I mean, it's the simplest thing. You can't shoot a deer from the couch. So being out there, being willing, and we've talked about how a lot of times we'll go out, or the program is you go out, you hunt the evening, you hunt the next morning on those hot days. Then, you either stay another night or you're just coming off the mountain. But sometimes you only have 1 or 2 days off. So you get up there. Like a weekend program. You get up there maybe Friday, stay Friday night, hunt hard Saturday, and come home Sunday. But, that extra, if you can have an extra day, and so you're kind of looking around. But I think also there's not a desperation to shoot something, but if you're going big, you go to an area, you're like, I'm not going to go all this way, spend all this time to come home empty-handed. So,
yeah, but also you're not going to go all that way to shoot a crab claw.
that's true. That's true.
Man.
Yeah, think about some of those crab claws too. You're just not getting a whole lot of meat.
Yeah, and they're
Add
just
it
kind
too.
of a pain.
Yeah.
There's so much connective tissue in them that,
Mm.
yeah, you just gotta.
Like your back straps are going to be nice, tenderloins are going to be small, but the rib meat, there's going to be nothing there. Trying to cook a shank,
Yeah,
we
I
got
mean-
a lot of shank left.
yeah, we do. Well, not that much because we don't have that much
Couple.
meat left, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's those. It's kind of like you just gotta cook like 4 of them all together
Yeah,
because there's just not much on them.
yeah, they cook down pretty good. So what else did you observations from our camp out or anything about deer or stuff or program or gear?
I don't know. Got me excited to hunt. We got less than a month here, so
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be fun. It starts to once you see a couple bucks, you think that could be a good spot, but who knows who's going to go up there beforehand.
yeah.
I mean, all it would take would be for someone else to kind of find that spot, or wolves to move through, or who
Yeah.
knows? So many different things can impact that. Weather, it was like you said, it was warm, but it wasn't hot. It's going to be hot the rest of this week, and it was hot a couple of years ago when it went up top, and so it was, or last year, where it was like scorching hot right off the bat. So it was only right at sunup that we saw those deer. And then through the day, like we saw nothing else except mosquitoes.
Yeah.
It's like one doe that was really, really tentative and didn't really like being out. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we even get back there to hunt or if we go somewhere else.
yeah, yeah,
But it was fun.
yeah. It's nice to have a spot that you know that you can probably get to. At least you've done some research, and most days you'd be able to get to that and hunt that. So that's good. But yeah, kind of fun to figure it out and yeah, get out there. So, all right, we'll call that this episode. Thanks for listening. Be sure you check out On Step Alaska. Change the name of this podcast and also the website. On Step Alaska is the name of the website. You can order my book, Beyond the Hunt, and check out other updates of living in Alaska. Thanks for listening.